From ABC-7 New York, this is Eyewitness News Extra Time.
A dramatic day to say the least in the hush money trial of Donald J. Trump. The defense attacking Michael Cohen's memory, his credibility, and his motives. And the race for the White House is more than on. President Biden and Donald Trump agreeing to face off in at least two debates, the first in just a matter of weeks. And the Miss USA pageant is in turmoil after the sudden resignation of the newly crowned winners. We take a closer look inside the scandal that prompted them to step down. And good evening, everyone. Welcome to this edition of Eyewitness News Extra Time. I'm Bill Ritter. We're going to begin with the Trump hush money trial, today turning into a case of sex, lies, and audio tapes. Trump's lawyers today grilling Michael Cohen about lies and secretly recording not only the former president, but others as well. Cohen admitting having 95 secretly recorded conversations and also leaving out information about a key conversation Cohen says he had with Mr. Trump about the payoffs to porn star Stormy Daniels. Lots to unpack here tonight. Eyewitness News reporter NJ Burkett with more from the courthouse in Lower Manhattan.
As Michael Cohen left his apartment today, he had to have known what was coming. Full-throated accusations from Donald Trump's legal team. That was a lie, Todd Blanche shouted at the witness box. You did not talk to President Trump on that night. Blanche was asking about a phone call Cohen made to Trump's bodyguard while Trump was campaigning just days before the 2016 election. He was trying to suggest that Cohen really wanted help with a series of harassing texts from a teenaged prankster. You can admit it, Blanche demanded. No, sir, I can't, said Cohen calmly. I believe I spoke to Mr. Trump about the Stormy Daniels matter. Cohen's testimony is crucial because he's the only one who can tie it all together. The alleged scheme to silence Stormy Daniels, the checks that were issued, and Trump's determination to keep the scandal from destroying his presidential campaign. Cohen is the only one who's testified that Trump himself signed off on it. That, he said, is what the phone call was really about. I always ran everything by the boss immediately, and in this case, it would have been saying everything has been taken care of. It's been resolved. But credibility is Cohen's Achilles heel. He's admitted he lied habitually to protect Trump and that he felt marginalized after Trump's victory. And he cannot escape his vitriolic social media posts. Trump's entourage today included 10 Republican House members who sat in the courthouse and held a news conference outside.
This is a made-up crime. No other American in the country would be charged with this type of crime.
Trump has complained for days that there are no demonstrations because his supporters can't get here.
Outside it's like Fort Knox. You can't get within 3 blocks of this place if you're a civilian.
But that's not true.
Here I am, close.
We found exactly 3 protesters waving flags, literally across the street.
Well, you're across the street from the courthouse. Like, where do you want to be?
I want to be inside, or I want to be at the door. I want to be at the front door. That's where I want to be.
To be clear, access to the park is wide open and unrestricted, although we have not seen any large-scale demonstrations here to date. As for cross-examination, the defense is still not finished with Michael Cohen. He's due back on the stand when the trial reconvenes here on Monday. In Lower Manhattan, NJ Burkett, Channel 7, Eyewitness News.
And we will be there to cover it. Now to the race for the White House. President Biden and former President Trump agreeing to 2 one-on-one debates. Neither will be traditional presidential debates, with one happening before the party's conventions. ABC's Christiane Cordero reports from Washington.
In a far from typical campaign season, President Joe Biden and former President Donald Trump will square off in far from typical fashion.
Well, make my day, pal. I'll even do it twice.
The first debate will happen June 27th on CNN, the second, September 10th, here on ABC News. Both campaigns chose to go around the Nonpartisan Commission on Presidential Debates, the traditional organizer since 1988, instead choosing to go face-to-face in studio. Trump has taunted Biden for weeks.
We have an empty podium right here to my right. You know what that is? That's for Joe Biden. I'm trying to get him to debate.
His message throughout the campaign season, anytime, any place. Biden took on the challenge with his surprise announcement, even mocking Trump's criminal trial in New York, referencing the one day a week he's not in court.
I hear you're free on Wednesdays. Trump
accepted by writing, "Let's get ready to rumble." The debates typically happen over several dates in October. This year's dates mean the first debate will happen before either candidate is technically their party's nominee.
I think we're ready to go. The American people deserve to see both of these candidates argue their case on the merits.
well before people actually go and cast their ballots.
Today, Vice President Kamala Harris agreed to a VP debate that'll air on CBS in either July or August. Trump has not yet announced his VP running mate. Christiane Cordero, ABC News, Washington.
It is a debate schedule that no one really saw coming, and the presidential debates might not be like the ones you have grown up accustomed to. Joining us with more is the guy who is bringing one of the debates together, ABC News political director Rick Klein. So tell me how this happened, what your role was in all this. Are you surprised that it came through?
It's a wild sequence of events. I mean, we had sent a letter a couple of weeks ago, along with the other networks, supporting the Commission on Presidential Debates, which has been doing debates for 40 years in the general election. So that was our expectation. But when President Biden put that video out yesterday morning, he made clear the Commission debates are off the table. He said he wanted to have 2 debates, one in June, one in September. So that prompted a lot of conversations. What is it that we might be able to offer? CNN was able to get a commitment from both candidates for June, so that left us with September. We were talking to the campaigns, and just within the matter of hours, we landed on a date that they both accepted, and we're pleased to be able to say that President Biden and former President Trump will be there debating each other in September. Despite the fact that we entered the day with the chance of no debates, we ended up with 2 on the books now.
Were you shocked about it?
I was. It came together very quickly. I mean, look, the reason the candidates say yes to a debate is their interest, right? They don't do it because they're supposed to or because they have to. They do it because it's in their
interest. To give the other guy a chance.
That's right. Well, so Trump has said he thinks it's in his interest to have as many debates as possible. He thought he was getting no debates at all. Biden, I think, made clear that he wanted to do it on his own terms and do them earlier than ever. So this June debate's 3 months before any other debate in history in the general election. Even September 10th is very early historically. Usually they're in October. So both of them got something that they wanted, and we're glad to be able to bring this to viewers in a couple of months.
And what do you think it means for the commission that has always been behind these?
You know, the commission's been around for 40 years, and it's been the only show in town when it comes to general election debates going back to the 80s. I think a lot of people have wanted to replace that for a long time. I'm not ready to say that's the case. They're saying they're still willing to host these debates if they could happen. I think that's unlikely at this stage, and we're glad to be able to offer this up otherwise. But who knows what happens election cycle from now if something reconstitutes or gets back on the books.
You gonna be the moderator?
No, I think I'm good with just making this one come together.
Well, you know what? Congratulations. I mean, you're the political director, and the political director made this happen. We saw President Biden say something kind of funny. But in general, I got the feeling like this was not so much a presidential candidates doing this, but, it was sort of like a pro wrestling thing, right? You pencil neck geek or something. Because Mr. Trump really laid into to Mr. Biden.
Yeah, and I've been told that President Biden didn't want to debate Trump, that he thinks it's beneath him, that he thinks Trump is unreliable and peddles in conspiracy theories and lies. But, look at where the campaign is. I think there was a recognition that if he ducked the debates, it would look like he's conceding the point that he's too old or unable to do the job. So I think they came to the view that they needed to do debates. Doing it in June means it might be a distant memory before people vote. Right. Even September could feel like pretty early because you got 2 whole months to make up for something that's a problem. But, there may be more. I wouldn't foreclose the possibility that if these debates are perceived as going well for one side or the other, there'll be pressure to do even more.
Right, or if they're close still.
That's right.
Then
if it's this
close,
to why would you give up that opportunity to to get that message out to the American people?
And the first one's going to be, not the ABC one, but the other one's going to be before the convention.
Yeah, but it's wild to think about. As our report just showed, neither candidate's actually technically the nominee until the conventions. So it's really, really strange to do it that early. Then again, it's the reality, right? We know who the candidates are going to be. We know that one of those 2 men is going to win the election this November. So why not go out there and slug it out?
Couldn't help but notice that Mr. Trump quickly said anyone else who wants to be in can do it. Well, he likes that kind of environment, right?
Yeah, I think he likes as much chaos as possible, and he wants to have as many of these as possible.
So what does that mean for Robert Kennedy?
Yeah, that's the big question. CNN made clear, and we made clear, that if he meets the thresholds that have traditionally been used in this, which is A, you're eligible to be president, B, you're on enough ballots to actually become president, right. 270 electoral votes is the magic number, and C, you meet polling thresholds. This isn't just a 1% or 2% thing. If he's at 15% in a series of polls, then that's enough to earn a spot. So we'll have to see where he stands. Right now, he's been hopping out in the low single or low double digits, but if he is gaining steam through the summer, that's very much a scenario where he could be on a debate stage in September.
Rick Klein, congratulations on your hard work that you really poured into this, and it made it happen. Really proud of you.
Thank you. Proud of the team.
We'll see you for Up Close. Up Close. That's what we're going to do. We're going to have that taping on Friday, airing Sunday morning.
Sounds good.
Really appreciate it.
I'll be there. Thanks.
Thank you, Rick. We invite you to stay with Eyewitness News and, of course, ABC News for all this that has to do with the elections. Meanwhile, we got to continue with Eyewitness News Extra Time and crowns and controversy. 2 winners of Miss USA pageants suddenly resign. Now, we don't usually cover Miss USA pageants and everything else, but we are tonight. We're going to talk to a former contestant about the turmoil within this organization. We're right back. Miss Hawaii was formally crowned Miss USA 2023 in a special coronation and celebration. The crowning ceremony comes after last year's winner, former Miss USA 2023, Noella Voigt, resigned earlier this month because of what she calls mental health issues. The newly crowned queen shared her thoughts on receiving the title.
Well, I empathize with the former title holders, but I took this as a job and a responsibility to really help make a positive impact within this organization that I truly believe in.
Miss Teen USA also resigned her title within days of Miss USA's resignation. This came in a big shock to the whole Miss Universe organization, which runs both of these pageants. Miss Teen USA, who is from Morris Plains, New Jersey, wrote in a statement that her personal values no longer fully align with the direction of the organization. The women's resignations mark the first time a title holder from either pageant has stepped down. The beauty queens allege a very ugly work environment that they say turned toxic, but they are bound by contracts which include confidentiality clauses, so we can't interview them. But we can talk to people who have been there, and someone who can talk about this is former Miss New York USA, Tatiana Diaz. Is that the right way to pronounce your first name?
Yeah, you got it.
I did it.
Right.
Okay, I'm very happy. I'm going to walk down the ramp now. Tatiana, thank you for joining us. You know, I'm not an expert in this. I think a lot of people aren't, but a lot of people watch the proceedings. What in the world's going on with this Miss USA organization?
This is the first time that this has ever happened in pageant history where we've had not just 1, but 2 pageant title holders give up their crown. Miss USA Noelia had resigned from her title, citing mental health reasons, and just 2 days later, Miss Teen USA Uma Sophia had resigned from her title. And this was obvious to many people that this was citing that something was happening internally, and now people are speaking out, asking for these women to be allowed to speak out on what was happening internally for both of them.
What was your reaction when you saw what was happening and you heard about it?
I wasn't surprised because I just feel that there had been a lot of conversations happening within pageantry. There had been a lot of leadership change, a lot of company changes in the last decade since I competed at Miss USA in 2015. So to see, that these women have spoken up, it's shocking in the terms of them being so brave enough to do so. But in terms of what is happening, I don't think it's shocking because I think often people forget that the pageant industry is actually a business. People see the production, they think it's glitz and glam, but there is a company and a business operating behind this. And as we've seen with many businesses, even outside of pageantry, when they are toxic work cultures, they're prone to being called out, especially on social media.
Did you feel any of that when you were competing?
I did. There's a lot of people involved, from handlers to public relations to pageant training, just so many different personalities that are involved, and pageant organizations don't have the right structure in terms of watching what's happening from every single corner and what's happening with these women. And people aren't checking in on the mental health of these women. They are having check-ins. How are you doing? What's going on? And that's what I think is really important and needs to change. Remembering that there's humans underneath these crowns.
Yes, and young humans. These are young women who are,
Yes.
how young were you back then? Different than
I was
feel
16.
10 years later, right?
Yeah, I was 16 when I started competing. And that's what's crazy to think about. At 16 years old, there's women who are having to advocate for themselves and speak out and talk about mental health issues for all the things that they already face being, publicly scrutinized. On top of that, they're not feeling the support from the organizations, which is so important, especially when you're out there so publicly.
Yeah, it's not all, as they say, glitters and tiaras. I'm going to ask you a personal question. Could you expand a little bit when you felt, obviously you didn't feel powerful enough about it or bad enough about it to resign, but what were the things that really got you? Give me, if you have an example, if you feel like it.
No, of course. For me, it was not feeling like I wasn't feeling supported mental health wise when I competed in pageantry. Nobody was checking in to say, hey, how are you feeling? There was a lot of things that I was dealing with, from even competing at Miss Teen USA at 16 to competing at an international and a national level. Nobody was checking in to see how I felt.
Yeah.
Nobody was joining me for events. Sometimes you're thrown into public events and you're kind of sent off to deal with that by yourself, and you're having to meet all these different personalities. There's no handler with you at a state level. That's personally what I dealt with. And so you're kind of thrown out to the wolves and expected to handle everything on your own, on top of the fact that, again, you're being publicly scrutinized on social media, in the comments, on pageant forums. And no one's checking in on you or treating you as if you're a part of the staff. They're kind of just expecting you to lift yourself up.
Tatiana Diaz, thank you for giving us insight into what was happening, and I'm glad you're doing all right. But thank you for your insight, because I think it's very, rare that people speak out about that. But you did, and I appreciate it.
It's important. Thank you so much.
Good luck to you. As we continue with Eyewitness News Extra Time, in less than 3 weeks, the Cricket World Cup coming to Long Island. We're going to take a closer look at how this global sport is growing in popularity in our area. A towering stadium boasting 34,000 seats and a trimmed field of soft Kentucky bluegrass is rising in a park on Long Island. Next month, the Nassau County International Cricket Stadium in East Meadow will host one of the world's top cricket tournaments. The T20 World Cup, that's what it's called, will be the first major international cricket competition in the U.S. As Eyewitness News reporter Josh Iner shows us, the stadium may be new, but cricket, well, it's been flourishing in the New York metro area for years.
We started in 2013 at parking lot number 2 under a tree with no facility, with 2 boys.
Before this facility became the home to this year's T20 World Cup, it was where the Long Island Youth Cricket Academy began.
We did say that we're going to start a program, and hopefully within 10 years, there should be some type of an accomplishment. A cricket stadium in Nassau County is definitely, it's a beginning of something.
Jamaican sprinter Usain Bolt, an honorary ambassador to the Games, toured the temporary stadium in Long Island's Eisenhower Park.
It's the biggest sports market, so to actually come here and be a part of this great thing. It's big for the sport, it's going to help to shine a light on cricket.
The venue will host the sport's first major international competition in the country, including a match between cricket titans India and Pakistan on June 9th.
You have 150 nationalities that plays this, and the influx of immigrants in Nassau County.
Cricket originally took root in the outer boroughs of New York City, but has gradually spread as immigrant families, like generations before, moved to the suburbs, transforming communities.
We have a very large Indian and Pakistani and Caribbean population here, and they're the most excited because this is probably the #1 sport in the country that they came to America from.
I am hoping that the county can recognize this as the beginning of something for inclusivity and progress.
Cricket is the second most viewed sport in the world after soccer, but in the United States, it's played by just over 200,000 people across more than 400 local leagues, according to USA Cricket. Major League Cricket launched last year in the U.S. with 6 professional teams, including a New York franchise. The sport among those slated for the 2028 Summer Olympics in Los Angeles. Its first appearance at the Games in more than a century. Soon after the World Cup ends, the modular stadium in Eisenhower Park will come down, but the cricket field itself will stay, minus the rectangular surface in the middle, known as the pitch. Organizers hope the sport's popularity will see a similar boost to soccer's 3 decades ago, when the U.S. hosted its first FIFA World Cup.
What soccer is doing, cricket is the second largest sport in the world, and is going to follow right behind.
Josh Iner, Channel 7, Eyewitness News.
You heard it here first, talking about cricket. As we continue with Eyewitness News Extra Time, we're going to take a live look outside. Yes, it's very gloomy. And where's the sun? Lee Goldberg has found it. He'll tell you when it's coming back out. Next. The TSA now predicting this summer is going to be the busiest travel season ever. The agency expects to screen more than 3 million travelers on some days. Overall, they are predicting a 15% increase in travelers this summer. It's a massive year-over-year difference. The TSA says it hopes to keep wait times under 10 minutes for pre-check passengers and under 30 minutes for everyone else. The summer travel season, meanwhile, kicks off with Memorial Day weekend. 2.8 million people expected to fly next Thursday, and even more passengers a week from tomorrow. Time now for the weather, and yes, we all want to know where the sun is. Lee Goldberg.
If you have glasses like me and you look off to the north and east, this is what the view's going to be. There's rain once again and drizzle blowing in a northeast. Winds kind of gusty. We're at 63, and there's still some winds that are gusting to around 20 miles an hour. I'm hoping to make them proud. 64 degrees, the high today, matching yesterday. Another day below average, and a little over a quarter-inch of rain. If you weren't here for the beginning of the show, we had over 3 inches on the east end of Long Island between last night and today. Sunset tonight, 8:08, but then tomorrow morning, we're going to start to see a few breaks in the clouds. We'll shut off the drizzle and rain as we go through later this evening. The good news is we can talk about a dry day tomorrow. No umbrellas necessary, and there will be some breaks in the clouds, and temperatures get back into the 70s. A comfortable afternoon. The weekend is also trending drier. I think it's basically weather that stays out of your way, even if it's not perfectly sunny. Certainly clouds dominate on Saturday, and there can be a passing shower, but it's by far not a washout, and we're in the upper 60s. By Sunday, I think we can actually get some brightening skies. The extended forecast looks like we're going to get into a nice stretch of spring weather next week. Not sure if it can last all the way into Memorial Day weekend, but it's definitely getting warmer next week. So the radar doesn't look all that impressive, but there's some patchy drizzle and mist, and it's still blowing around with that northeast wind. So still a little nasty outside in a couple of spots. And this area of light rain going from Patterson to Clifton to Union City is going to be moving into Bloomfield and Livingston, Maplewood and Newark, and over to Summit, New Jersey as well, and down to Bayonne. So a few of these bands continue to rotate in overnight, and then this low starts to creep offshore. So it moves out very slowly. In fact, it does another lap out in the Atlantic, but that's not such a bad thing because it'll take some of its clouds with it. We'll be in a safer, drier zone here, and it'll also kind of stop this system off to the west and make it take a scenic route to our south, leaving us with a mainly dry weekend. By the way, what's going on in Texas is really a dangerous situation. They've got very heavy rainfall, serious flooding situation, and some active tornado warnings here. They have been hit hard all spring long, and they have major river flooding in that area. We don't get that system. It actually plays a role in our weather next week because the southeastern U.S. will be stormy and we'll be okay here in the northeast. But we have to improve tonight. First is getting rid of some of that rain and drizzle. This clearing looks a little optimistic, but I think we'll at least dry out. And then clouds and some breaks of sunshine tomorrow, and we should get back into the 70s. A nice day and definitely a brighter day. Now remember, that storm is offshore and another storm's coming in from the west. So on Saturday, we definitely have a lot of clouds, and a few showers will be allowed to survive the trip. But again, it should be light and just a passing shower. And then the bulk of the rain actually is shoved to the south. High pressure building in from the north allows us to brighten up on Sunday even more, and temperatures get into the 70s and even nicer next week. 57 tonight, some evening light rain or patchy drizzle, then just mainly cloudy and breezy. For tomorrow, a better day. Finally, a dry day, clouds and breaks of sun, and a warmer afternoon. Tomorrow night, down to 57 degrees. Here's your 7 days. 69 on Saturday with a passing shower, brighter and a little milder Sunday, into the 70s next week, if not 80 by late next week.
And that wraps up this edition of Eyewitness News Extra Time. Thanks for watching. I'm Bill Ritter. We're back live on Channel 7 Eyewitness News at 11 o'clock. Hope to see you then. Until then, have a great and safe evening.